Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching World News. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and these are the latest headlines. After an extraordinary meeting of EU leaders in Brussels, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk addressed the Polish parliament, outlining a plan to strengthen Europe in response to the ongoing threat from Russia and the shifting U.S. stance on Ukraine. Our reporter Piotr Miszczuk has the details.
Prime Minister Tusk said that Europe shouldn't pretend that it's happy with the turn of the US stance towards Ukraine. He also said that Europe needs to live up to the US expectations and release more funding, which will be released according to the programs that were announced after the Brussels summit. He also said that the funds will be unlocked to invest more in security, in modern weapons, also in cyber weapons and artificial intelligence. And he said that he diagnosed Europe with certain flaws, with certain shortcomings. He said that Europe is unwilling to act, that Europe is uncertain and at times even cowardly. He also said that we should keep in mind that Europe has more modern weapons than Russia and that it has a bigger population.
500 million Europeans beg 300 million Americans to protect us from 140 million Russians, who for the past 3 years have been unable to deal with 40 million Ukrainians.
The Polish Prime Minister further added that he had proposed the idea of creating the European Armaments Bank, which will aim to support the defense efforts of European Union member states. He said that though the idea is for the time being far from realization, it is definitely something that other European leaders will be thinking about. He also said that Poland might opt out from two conventions. This is the Ottawa Convention and the Dublin Convention that ban the cluster munitions and anti-personnel mines. He also suggested that the European Union has lifted some regulations, especially ones concerning the environment and public tenders, in order to enhance investment. He said that next week he'll be traveling to Turkey to garner support for the defense initiatives. He said that he'll be expecting more engagement from Turkey. Another good news is that the East Shield initiative, which aims to bolster the border between Poland and Russia and Poland and Belarus, has caught on in Europe. And this means, according to the Prime Minister, that Poland will get significantly more funding for this initiative. For TVP World, from the Polish Parliament, I'm Piotr Miszczuk.
The EU's Justice Chief is confident that in the coming weeks, a tribunal will be set up to prosecute Russian crimes of aggression in Ukraine. Many in Brussels see this as a major step for Ukraine, strengthening President Volodymyr Zelenskyy's position at ceasefire negotiations with Moscow. We're joined live by our EU correspondent, Angela Skujins from Brussels. Angela, what more can you tell us about this tribunal?
Yes, so this tribunal is called the Special Tribunal for the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine. It was spearheaded by the EU top foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, and there were discussions today. We heard from the Brussels top brass that they're expecting that final seal of approval in the coming weeks, with the expectation that it will be set up. Now, the discussion today was centred around those justice ministers from across the EU. It was chaired by Poland's Justice Minister, Adam Bodnar, who welcomed the news. Here is what he had to say regarding that announcement.
We have reaffirmed our commitment to fight Russian impunity in the context of accountability for war crimes committed as a result of the Russian aggression in Ukraine. And we have discussed different practical steps that can be taken by the EU and the EU member states in this context, including support for the establishment of the Special Tribunal for the Crime of Aggression.
Yes, so we also heard from the EU Commissioner for Justice, Michael McGrath, that the expectation of this tribunal is that it will have a two-prong effect. The first thing is that it will hold the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, to account for his 4-year invasion of Ukraine. It will also strengthen Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy at the negotiating table as he navigates increasingly knotty ceasefire talks with the Kremlin. Here is what the EU Commissioner had to say today.
There is a recognition that this is a vital instrument that will result in justice being served in relation to those who are guilty of the crime of aggression against the people of Ukraine, and getting this work complete in the coming weeks will strengthen the hand of Ukraine in the context of the peace negotiations that we all hope will begin to take place over the days and weeks ahead.
Yes, so I'm struggling to hear a little bit, but I think if it's the end of what we heard from that Justice Commissioner, we're expecting the legal framework of this move to eventually be unveiled. We're also expecting a claims commission to be established at least by the end of March. This will determine how much Russia needs to pay for its crimes against Ukraine. But that's all from Brussels. I'll send it back to you in Warsaw.
Thank you so much, Angela, for that update. Really appreciate it. Ukraine has received £752 million from the United Kingdom, funds secured from frozen Russian assets. Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal made the announcement on social media platform X. He said the funds will go towards strengthening Ukraine's defense capabilities. Shmyhal also expressed gratitude to British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the UK government, and Kyiv's G7 partners for creating a mechanism that redirects Russian money to Ukraine. Ukraine has requested more details from Italy regarding a proposal by Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. The plan would extend NATO's mutual defense umbrella to Kyiv without offering membership or deploying peacekeeping troops. A foreign ministry spokesperson also commented on the role of F-16 and Mirage 2000 jets in repelling Russian air attacks.
We welcome this statement as part of the discussion on providing Ukraine with long-term security guarantees and ensuring security and peace in general. I think it is important that we expand this discussion to different elements. There are different ideas being expressed, ideas about involving the air component in guaranteeing security and peace in Ukraine after the war ends. Ideas are being expressed about extending Article 5, as the Italian Prime Minister said. This is a part of a wider discussion and we welcome it. As for this proposal specifically, we're in contact with our Italian colleagues to clarify the specifics of this proposal. Both F-16 and French Mirage fighter jets took part in repelling tonight's missile attack. It was the first time since they were provided to Ukraine around a month ago. French fighter jets took an active part in protecting Ukrainian skies. We use this opportunity to say thank you, or merci, to our French friends that gave us these fighter jets and strengthened Ukraine's combat aviation.
The besieged Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk remains one of the most intense battlegrounds. Russian forces have been advancing towards the city for weeks, capturing villages along the way as part of their push through eastern Ukraine's Donetsk region. Every day, Pokrovsk endures relentless missile and bomb attacks. Many of the few remaining residents cling to hope that the Russian advance will be stopped before reaching them.
Bombing, shooting. That night we had some bombing again. It seems like it has calmed down a bit for now. I would be glad if there was peace.
Hopefully our soldiers will hold Pokrovsk. I want to be Ukrainian. I was born in Ukraine and I want to be here.
It is clear that things are not changing for the better, only for the worse, because there is more and more destruction. I think we need to reach an agreement. It is clear that we would like the negotiations to be held on normal terms, but no one can guarantee that to us.
Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico insists he did not block Thursday's emergency European Council summit on Ukraine and European security. He says he only pushed for the meeting's conclusions to acknowledge Kyiv's halt to gas transit. At the end of 2024, Ukraine stopped receiving Russian gas supplies after declining to renew its agreement with Moscow, part of an effort to cut Russia's revenues used to fund the invasion.
If I move on to evaluating the first part of yesterday's conclusions, I consider it a major success that we now have a political mandate from the European Council in the form of this statement, which will allow us to exert significant pressure on Ukraine. The European Union cannot directly instruct a country that is not an EU member to take action. However, it can issue directives to member states such as Slovakia or the European Commission to seek solutions. The European Council acknowledged yesterday the reservations and concerns we have expressed regarding the halt in gas transit through Ukraine. This process is already advancing. Today in Brussels, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Economy, Denisa Sakova, is engaged in negotiations on the transit of Azerbaijani gas through Ukraine. This is the swap operation we have been discussing. Therefore, in accordance with yesterday's decision of the European Affairs Committee in the Slovakian Parliament, and considering the progress we made on gas transit, I stated, I will not stand in the way. Whoever wants to send money, let them send it.
And with that, we conclude this edition of World News. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.